Welcome to a brand new episode of The Pop Cannon. This is episode 60, and we are talking The Suicide Squad.
I get it.
Yeah, we're your hosts. My name is Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm the Paul.
Ah.
And I'm A. Joe.
One of many.
So, The Suicide Squad dropped. It's a James Gunn film from DC. I think we're pretty much all in agreement that we liked this movie. I certainly did. There was plenty of bright spots, not many lows, lot of interesting character decisions, and the movie really took its time to care about these characters in a way that Warner Brothers doesn't normally let their films do, you know? It doesn't let filmmakers explore these characters. I was one of the few people that enjoyed the first Suicide Squad. However, I haven't rewatched it since the theater experience.
Oh my God.
I know there's been a lot of issues plaguing that film. And this movie treats that movie with respect while also forging its own path.
Yeah.
Robert, what did you think about The Suicide Squad?
I'll move up from like. I'll accept that we all liked it, but I loved it. I had so much fun. Just from the beginning, I got hooked right in, and it legitimately transported me, I feel like. And I feel like it was pure escapism for, like, by the time the credits rolled, I like realized I was in my house still. Like, I feel like I was taken away from all of the issues and all of the outside stuff that was bothering me. And I was actually allowed to enjoy something and laugh my ass off for 2.5 hours. I really, really enjoyed this. And James Gunn fucking killed it. The cast fucking killed it. The action was insane, brutal, and over the top, and just like massively enjoyable and fun. Paul, what did you think?
The first thing I said about it was that it was like pure escapism, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It seems like that was really all that he was like worried about, was just having fun.
Yeah.
I don't think it's perfect. There are definitely some things that bother me about it from like a comic book fan perspective, I would say. I think it kind of suffers from the same thing that Deadpool does in a way, where because Deadpool depends so much on the rule of funny, you can forego lore, you can forego consistency as long as it's funny, right?
Yeah.
I feel
if
like
you execute the funny, yeah.
Exactly. I feel like this movie, probably not as much as Deadpool, but it does that. And in doing that, I think it takes away from like feeling like you should care about some of the characters. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's not exactly it has heartwarming moments, and it has characters that are specifically for those heartwarming moments. But there are also characters where it's just like, okay, like, should I root for them? Are they the bad guy? Like, it was very like gray morality sort of throughout the whole thing, which isn't bad. I'm not saying it is bad, but like, it's just hard to get certain things across. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm just explaining it poorly, but I think that's the only like criticism that I would have about this movie. Like, but I don't want to like go on for too long. I want to like get into more of like
throw to
Joe. Joe. Yeah.
I did really enjoy this. I see where you guys are coming from with some of the shortcomings. I really admire like James Gunn's ability to like cut to the heart of like any character.
Yeah.
He like finds something to care about in anybody that he writes. I think his storytelling is really good up until he hits a climax, and then like the Starro fight at the end was just kind of very anticlimactic. But everything else leading up to that was like a wild ride. I don't think I got bored with any scene, and like you like jump from like completely different narratives. It seems like that all, converge by the end. To Paul's point of like the gray morality, it was definitely a tightrope walk that they did, where there's no good guys here because they're criminals who are being sent out to do this mission by people who are worse. So yeah, there's no good people. There's just less bad people. Even to the point of like Starro had like a motivation that was just like, I didn't even want to be here, but you did this to me. Which I like that, where these aren't cut and dry black and white characters. The whole movie exists in the gray. So I thought that was done pretty well personally. And otherwise, like, just the story beats up until, like I said, the end just kind of felt like it needed to happen, but they didn't know a good way to do it. But like the opening told you everything you needed to know without explaining it at you, which by the end fell off because then the thinker just explains at you the twist of what happened with Starro. So that was frustrating for me, that something that they did so well in the beginning of the movie didn't carry through the very end. But yeah, the first, 3/4 of the movie are amazing, and then the end is fine, which just makes up to a pretty good movie.
Right.
That's a pretty good take on this, I feel like. And I definitely loved this movie, and I think it's the best take on Harley Quinn that we've gotten so far, which I'll get into in a minute. But it also gave us a really good look at Amanda Waller again, which Viola Davis is phenomenal. A role that I think that she owns, and I don't think anyone else could touch.
No, not after her.
Yeah, no.
I'm so thankful that we got her back for this.
Yeah,
because she was one of the highlights for Suicide Squad, and once again for me in the Suicide Squad, she was a highlight.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Amanda Waller and her overall characterization in the larger scale DCEU?
And dude, she just like the ultimate pragmatist. Like nothing matters short of the goal, and the ends justify the means no matter what they are. She will step over and bury anything in her path to get to the thing at the end. So in this, the whole thing is that we find out at the end is not necessarily getting rid of Starro. That's not the fucking problem. The problem is the information in the computer says that the U.S. government was involved, and that's what she wanted to get rid of the entire time.
Right.
And she wastes 30 villains on it's like an endless fucking wave of people that she's willing to throw at it to make sure that it goes away, which I think is fucking amazing. She was tasked with doing something from someone higher up, and she has a fucking job, and everybody underneath her is going to make sure that happens.
Right.
And her delivery of it, everything is she's so fucking intense. So intense. And I couldn't get over the scenes that had her in it, man. And I think one of my favorite moments with Amanda Waller is when they go get Ratcatcher 2. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to have disturbed you," and she's like, "It's okay, shut the door."
Yeah.
And Amanda Waller's like, "Get up!" It just, she was being courteous, but from a managerial point of view, she's only saying the nice thing because she feels like she has to. She's not asking this girl to fucking wake up. She's telling her to come with her. Yeah. And I love that. I love that kind of shit.
It seems like in the original Suicide Squad, she had more opportunities to seem sinister. Maybe it's just because this movie, The Suicide Squad, is just more lighthearted in general.
Yeah.
I think she was part of a joke at least once, I think. Which is fine. What I was going to say was, I think the way they filled that gap was by having those people who worked under her, those tech people, and they actually had a story thread with them. Seeing the lengths that she would go to.
Yeah.
So that was there. It's still in the movie, and I thought that was a really cool way to do that.
I love Steve Agee being like, all right, the stuff with his daughter though.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not actually gonna, because he's like having the morality crisis of like, are we party to that now?
No, he's just like a normal. Yeah, he's just like just some guy.
I thought he was supposed to be the bad guy. You know, like, that's the question that he's asking.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, like we said, Viola Davis has like an amazing presence, and it has been a while since I've seen the old Suicide Squad. Which I'll just say, like, for a note, they should have had a subtitle. Like, it's just so fucking annoying to have Suicide Squad and the Suicide Squad. Yeah. But I think she's much scarier in a way in this movie. Yeah. And I think part of that is, like Paul said, that they like leaned into the lighthearted nature. So like the contrast of her just being that presence throughout, I think really highlighted her performance. And yeah, I think like I'm not a huge like DC head, but I know like my familiarity with the character outside of this performance is like she's in Batman the Animated Series, and I think like Batman Beyond, and they like
in Justice League too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. And they kind of like tease at her like kind of gray morality there, but like this is definitely the most like
gray.
Yeah, like this is the most like Amanda Waller is like up to some shit.
Which makes sense when you translate it to film.
Yeah, for sure.
I read some Justice League stuff, I think from the New 52 that she was in, or it was like Trinity War, something in the New 52 Amanda Waller was in, where it was, I don't even know if it was necessarily after the original Suicide Squad, but it was like very similar characterization from both of the Suicide Squad movies to that comic book, where she's very similar in how she's like willing to get things done.
And like Jordan said, I like that this, while it's like insistent that this is its own thing, it doesn't invalidate the first Suicide Squad. Like that whole opening sequence is very like, yes, we've kept doing this. Like this we've got it down to a science.
The first movie feels like it was the pilot mission.
Right.
And it feels like with the way that it was set up, they've been doing this the entire time, and we just get to watch this one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like. And
like,
I fucking
such
love that.
Fucking like concise opening where like they demonstrate the stakes of like with like flipping the switches to blow up their heads without having to like stand around a table and like hold up the device and threaten them. Right. Like it was just amazing storytelling to like tell you everything you needed to know and then let the story start going. And I like that like the first one, I think she was more hesitant about things like because she was trying to prove the program, but now she's like, I've got what I want and I can do whatever I want now.
Yeah. These people are expendable.
Like, throw an entire team on the other side of the island just to get the others in on the other side.
And it's not even, I guess it's not even technically a cold open. I think it would be classified as a hook. Like this is what we got to see so much happen before it said Warner Brothers Presents. Which they laid out in Savant's Blood in the Water, which is a theme that then continued throughout the movie.
Yeah, the chapter titles. Oh.
I loved it.
The most fucking creative.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. I don't know why people don't do it more in movies.
Yeah.
If you think about it, because nobody really like questions the fact that the shit on the sand is spelling out now. You know what I mean?
I think that was my favorite one because it felt so natural, and then there's something else we're going to talk about too for sure, but like then the camera kind of like punches in beyond it, so like only we're supposed to see that, and then we follow the characters for the rest of it.
It's also very comic booky, so it fits perfectly in this genre.
Yes,
it felt like you're reading a graphic novel, you're thumbing through it, and then you're at the end of a chapter, and you're on to the next one.
Yes,
my favorite personally was the Jotunheim one.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
And then the camera just goes up and past it. I loved that. That was such a creative way to do your title sequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do wonder if that one was actually physical or if they just did it 3D. But that like the effect was good, like it looked real.
It did, yeah.
Which is a testament to their effects in general, which looked really good throughout the entire movie, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But Paul, you were going to say something else about the transitions.
It's so much better and it's cooler and than just having like a text at the bottom that says where we are or like what time, because like it helps the viewer suspend disbelief. Because it's like something weird that you're seeing.
Yeah.
And like I think specifically the one that's like where it's in fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that one is like, oh, you can't do that unless you have pyrotechnics. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't just do that, but you're not thinking that because it's done in such a way that you're like, and especially by that point you had already seen a few of them.
So many times. And then the fire one specifically corrects itself.
Yeah.
Because it says the wrong thing.
It makes the titles almost like a character in the movie where like it's like this is what we're gonna do, but then Rick Flag says no, actually we have to do this, and it's like, oh, hold on.
Specifically that 3-shot of them, Idris Elba, John Cena, and Joel Kinnaman, in the clothes that they were wearing specifically. I want that to be a different movie about something else. The 3 of them specifically, again, like 3 dads that were at a barbecue and now they have to save the world. Like I want just the 3 of those guys to be in something because it just looked so funny, and they all, especially the 3 of them, I would say had really great chemistry with each other because they worked together. I feel like the 3 of them were together a lot.
That beat when they're in the back of the armored car. It was perfect.
The performances in this movie were fucking unbelievable.
They really were.
Yeah, and everyone's chemistry was really good and like off the charts, surprisingly.
Because it's a massive cast, and that's what's like so funny about that opening is like they hit the beach, and we've already had like the intro thing and the plane conversation, which I think is like part of how they James Gunn is so able to hook you so good, is that the banter is funny for one, and it's like entertaining and humorous, but it's also like super punchy and fast, so you feel like you're sitting there but you can't get a word in. You know what I mean? Like in a way, like you're kind of there with them, and you're like, ha! Like you're following the conversation as it's happening, and I think that he fucking killed that. So then when they get to the beach and they blow off Pete Davidson's face, you then at that point I didn't realize that half of the cast that I knew was in this movie wasn't there. I didn't realize that. And then they say bring in team 2, and we cut to seeing who they were, and I'm like, how did I think that was the whole team? Like, I know that all of those guys were in it. Like, obviously John Cena wasn't in it in the beginning. Why did I think that? It just, because you get so sucked into what's happening, you don't even think about it. So then when you get more shit, you're like, fuck, this is great.
And I was under the impression that, like, oh, okay, maybe they're going to kill off half this team and then have to bring on more people later on.
That's what I assumed,
But it was such an interesting decision that caught me off guard. Team 2 is over on the other side of the island. Like, it was a distraction the entire time from the jump.
Yeah, they're literally all meant to die, and none of them were supposed to survive that. And that was the point of sending them in, to be the distraction. She wanted to get rid of that group of people. That's why they were fucking team 1. I love that. And like, we have to talk about Weasel.
Oh my god, man.
So they drop Weasel into the water and he starts flailing around, and I was just like, oh my god, they're going to kill him off. They're going to kill him off right now. And all of a sudden Savant's like, the Weasel's dead. And I'm losing it in the theater. I'm just laughing like a child. Because you see Weasel, and we've talked about this. We've talked about Weasel on a previous episode. And
release the Weasel cut of Empire.
The entire time we're just going, what the hell is this character? What the hell are they going to do with him?
Well, no, it does matter, though, because he's alive.
Like, I love that, the way that Joel Kinnaman delivers everything that has to do with Weasel up to that point. Like when he's naming the crew as they're walking in front of the American flag, he even like playfully said Weasel, like, and then he says into his comm in his ear, he's like, nobody checked if the Weasel could swim, and nobody responds because everyone's just like, that wasn't my job.
And the contrast of having that small team in like the office setting, taking bets on everyone on who's going to survive and stuff.
Just a normal morning meeting. A good meeting, everyone. Yeah.
And then playing that to everyone panicking when Weasel is drowning.
Yeah.
And nobody saves him.
That's it.
I'm like, oh my god, they're going to let Weasel die before any action happens. And then cut to, he's just floating in the water. Dude, on the plane, when Pete Davidson asks what kind of dog it is, I lost it, and the only reason I knew what was said after that was because I was reading the subtitles, because I was laughing so fucking hard I couldn't hear anything. And he's like, he freaks out because he thinks he's next to a werewolf or something. Like, unfucking believably funny, dude. I can't get over that part of the movie, and that's not even the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Right.
But Joe, you mentioned that they were expendable.
Right.
And that was the vibe that I got, because a guilty pleasure of mine is watching at least that first Expendables movie, because it's a little bit of fun action. And this felt so much like that, because the overall thing on the island didn't really matter. It was just to blow shit up. Like, that's kind of what the fuck was going on. But Corto Maltese is a DC Easter egg. That's a thing that exists in DC over and over again. And I think its initial inception was in The Dark Knight Returns. It doesn't obviously exist, but like Gotham City, it's a thing that exists for DC. So then we get to keep using an actual place that exists already. He didn't make up a place or use an existing place. He used an existing DC place, which I think is important and just kind of helps fold the rest of the movie into just like it's in that universe still, you know? Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, which goes to Joe's point of it doesn't discredit the original Suicide Squad that they had, which a lot of people say is course correction. I don't necessarily think so. I think it's more another story that we get in this overarching DC universe that we get, you know?
Clearly it wasn't working for executives to try and like ring things through. I don't know, maybe it didn't really seem like they were trying to do that anyway with the fucking Zack Snyder's shit. Like it didn't really, but I guess now
they
like
didn't want to.
They care even less now, it seems like, that things are connected.
Yeah,
and maybe
so they're just
that like
connect
helps.
It if you want. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. So it at least seems to give them like more freedom. I don't know.
Jordan, you mentioned Harley. You mentioned how this is the best iteration of her, which I absolutely agree with. But I will say that it's complex now, because all of the times that we've seen her previously have been layered into where she is now. So like, you don't need to see them to understand how Harley is the way that she is, because you know what Harley Quinn's supposed to be. But having watched her go through what she went through in Suicide Squad, and then watch what happens in Birds of Prey to get to this Harley, makes her so much more deep, and there's context to her that you can kind of wring from. Like her shirt when they're in the plane said it was a take on a common phrase, but it said something like,
it was like live hard, die clown or something.
Die clown, that was it. I fucking love that kind of shit, dude. Like, because it doesn't need to be there, but somebody was like, no, we're going to put that on the back of her jacket. She's going to wear it in half of a scene, and we're not going to really talk about it, but like, we're going to have those moments in there that you can connect to shit if you need to, but if not, it's still there.
Yeah.
What did you think about Harley overall?
I think she was on par with Birds of Prey, in my opinion. Just because like that was a very Harley-centric movie, even though it was another team movie. But I liked how much they gave her in this, especially since she's like not even with the team for most of it. So like half of the movie is just Harley on her own doing Harley. but I like that she always like finds like a kinship with people, like whatever group she's in. Like it'll be nice to someday like see her in her own movie on her own, not part of a team, but it's also like great to see her interact with everybody.
Yeah.
I guess it's only happened twice, but it seems like now like every time you see Harley, you're gonna have to like have a pop color fight sequence, whether it's like the smoke bombs in Birds of Prey or like the cartoon flowers and stuff in this. But like it worked. It was just like, is this gonna happen every time?
Dude, I
hope
loved
so.
that, though.
It was a really
That's
great
what I
fight
mean.
sequence,
Like
though.
I loved it. That all worked for me because Harley as a character fundamentally represents like fun and chaos and unpredictability, and she's actually crazy, which I feel like this movie highlights in a way that none of the others really do. Like that she's actually an insane person.
Right.
Like people tend to forget. They're like, "Oh, I love Harley Quinn. Oh my god,
Right.
I love Harley."
She's
and
so
the Joker.
funny.
But
Like, no, dude, she's
that
fucking
you
insane.
forget that she's just like, "Who's Milton?" We just had a conversation for 30 minutes about your name being Milton. Like little things like that make it so much more fun. So seeing a fight scene like that, kind of from her perspective, is so fun. Because you know all that shit's just happening, and that's what she's seeing.
I was going to say, that's like, we get to see in her imagination what that violence looks like. Because it almost, with the cartoon characters and the flowers shooting out, there was blood splatter, but it was all kind of like filtered with that stuff. So it didn't even look nearly as violent as it was as she murdered like 27 people in a hallway.
Yeah.
You know, in a way, when I was watching that, I thought that what we were seeing was being generated by the javelin.
Oh, shit.
Because she grabs it right after you start seeing flowers, and then it seems to like extend the effect as she's using it. Maybe it was just like, maybe it was But I think
is that something that javelin does?
No, I don't know. That was the thing though. Like that was another like one of those throwaway characters, which I have such mixed feelings about it because it's like I feel like so many of them are missed opportunities. Like because Flula Borg is so fucking funny. Nathan Fillion was awesome, and I loved that. TDK setup, and then she's like detachable kid, and then you're like, oh my fucking god.
Dude, this is my favorite. One of my favorite things that happens in this entire movie is when they announce what that is, and then you see him do it. And then literally we're watching it the first viewing that I had, Amanda goes, what the fuck? And then the second when she finishes the Harley Quinn goes, what the fuck?
Oh yeah.
I lost it. I lost it. I was like, if you waited 1 second, you could have said it together. And that's like, I know that I have complained about in the past scripts being self-referential and not liking it in like a Deadpool 2 where they make 3 or 4 mentions as to how bad the script is.
Right.
But this, it felt like a natural fucking reaction, considering that's literally what the reaction was before Harley reacted to it. So I think that that's at least interesting, that he was able to generate a natural reaction out of everybody, and then Harley, speaking for you, says it. But yeah, TDK was fucking hilarious. Yeah,
speaking about the characters and being expendable, I was very upset that they killed off Captain Boomerang at the very beginning.
I know.
Was not expecting that.
No.
At all.
I think that helped lead to kind of how unpredictable it was. I mean, I didn't necessarily expect Pete Davidson or Flula Borg to be in it very long, you know?
Yeah.
I think I kind of expected Michael Rooker to be in it a little longer, to be honest. But
when I saw his wig, I was like, he's dying immediately. They're not going to make me look at this for 2 hours.
No, but you're right, though, in that it made you think, oh, who are they going to kill?
Yeah, the characters you don't necessarily know you don't really care about dying. Like you were saying earlier, Paul, but like when you get to Captain Boomerang dying on the beach, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, and
like
you're
this
like-
could be anyone now.
Yeah.
Holy
My arms
shit.
went up, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, the stakes are like real." And it's not even like he died because he tried going and running away
Right.
and got his head blown up. Like he died on the mission, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, the stakes were like very clear, and talking about. Oh, well, you're thinking Polka Dot Man or Ratcatcher 2. They're going to be throwaway characters that they put into this movie. And then, wait, all of a sudden, there you are caring about them. There you
Yeah.
are, them becoming part of the heart of this film.
Yeah.
And this movie has a lot of heart.
I
It
feel
does.
like I feel like James Gunn knew exactly how people would attach to Polka Dot Man instantly. Because it's a weird character, because it's obviously stupid, he decided to instead create intrigue around what that could be.
Yeah.
And then slowly reveal pieces of it as we go along, to the point that, like, when it finally happens and we get to see what he could do, you're just like, what the fuck, dude? This is insane. Love that. I love that so much, man.
He was fucking wonderful in
Yeah.
that role.
And David Dastmalchian is just like a fucking great actor. Like when he's in Ant-Man, like he steals every scene that he's in,
Yeah.
even though he's just like a fucking side character.
And, I mean,
And-
even as far back as The Dark Knight,
I was just gonna say, yeah.
you remember his face.
Yeah.
I remember that scene. He doesn't even, I don't think he says anything in The Dark Knight, but like every time I've seen him since then, I'm like, that's the guy.
Well, he's just, I think
That's
he
a
just
crazy
pleads
dude.
for his life, basically.
Yeah, he
But
kind of like,
he's so expressive
Yeah.
and he's captivating, so
Yeah.
he kind of pulls you in and steals the scene that he's in.
when Idris Elba goes, oh, we're all gonna fucking die. And he just looks at him so forlorn. And it's just like, I hope so.
You believe that,
and then
though.
when I think his Ratcatcher is like, I thought you were the crazy one. He's like, I am. Like, the most uncomfortable like way possible.
Yeah. Which I thought the way that they visualized on screen him seeing everyone as his
Oh
mother,
my God.
fascinating. I thought that
yeah, it
was
was
so
good.
clever, so much fun.
Because at first I only noticed the one, and then it's like also like your eyes kind of pull back to see that the rest of them look like that, and like and they're all in the different shapes of the characters.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
they're not just his mom. It's just like his mom is everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like she's the size of King Shark.
Yeah.
And that fucking made me lose it. Or the dance scene in the fucking club where everybody around him is his mom.
Oh yeah.
But even that, where they establish it as like a one-off joke, but then it's like, no, there's like some like real trauma attached to this, and that's why
Yes,
this guy is
yeah.
the way he is.
Yep.
He's like, if I just picture everyone as my mother, it's easy to kill them.
It's cool that he worked that trauma into his powers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's his origin in the comics. I
Probably
think it's
not.
just in the comics it's just fucking stupid or whatever.
Right.
But the fact that it's like an interdimensional fucking virus or whatever, I thought that was fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so like weird.
Yeah, and I like
Yeah.
that they tied it back to Star Labs.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
another DC thing that
Yep.
connects everything, and it fits
Yeah.
in so well, but it doesn't rely on that.
No.
It's just a thing. If you know it,
It's
cool.
yeah,
If
it's
you
just
don't,
it's
you-
just a
whatever.
reference.
Right.
Yeah. Which I
love that.
appreciated.
Also, I want to say fucking John Cena
Dude.
fully embodied this character to like a crazy. So I want to read this really quick on the Wikipedia page. It says that he tried to do like a Full Metal Jacket sort of like drill sergeant at first, and then James Gunn was like, "No, be a douchey, bro-y Captain America,"
Yeah.
which is like that is literally what he fucking like.
Yeah.
He
Here's
said
what-
in an interview too, like saying how in WWE, if you could explain your character in like one line, like they'll get it.
Right.
So he said James Gunn told him to do that, and he goes, "I got it. I can do that."
He knew exactly what to do, and I think he's so fit for that role, for one, to just be the guy that like is a joke, but he doesn't think that he's a joke, because that's almost what his WWE character wound up being at a certain point.
Yeah.
So like he already knows how to be a douchey, arrogant prick that thinks he's better than everyone, but everyone is looking down at.
Right.
He already gets that part of it. So like for him delivering some of that shit, where like especially where he was like, yeah, because it's dope as fuck.
Yeah.
Elba turns around and he's like, it's like, fuck, he's right. It is dope as fuck.
Yeah.
It's so stupid, but it's perfect because you just believe that guy would talk that way. But Cena fucking nailed it. It's another movie where he got to wear jorts, which I think is just becoming a meme of him, like such a meta fucking thing with John Cena that he wears jorts in every movie now because he wrestled in jorts for fucking 13 or 14 years. Like, it's crazy that they're able to do that now. But yeah, fucking Cena killed it, dude. Everything with that character was amazing. Their brutality with which Peacemaker dealt with everything, which is kind of, he had a fucking, like, I didn't even realize he had a sword. He had a fucking sword.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like they also breathed new life into Rick Flag.
Yes.
Not at the end.
Yeah. Until he died.
Oh yes.
True. But yeah, Joel Kinnaman did an article or did an interview that Jordan shared with me earlier this morning, where he talked about how like him and James Gunn kind of agreed that this is just like a different guy.
Interesting.
So he wasn't.
He's at a different place in his life.
Yeah, he wasn't relying on what that character was or how he acted in the previous film. He's just a different person. But I think it still worked because
it didn't seem too different.
No, he just was like more funny.
Yes, yeah. And it was just better. It just worked better.
And Joel Kinnaman is not a guy that does comedies like ever. So he was able to kind of learn how to do comedy with this group of people, which is fucking it's really hard to find a better group of people to kind of like mold you through that, I think.
Yeah.
So I think he did a really great job too.
Oh yeah.
Joe, what did you think about Peacemaker and Rick Flag in this?
Peacemaker is definitely like the guy you love to hate.
Yeah.
There was like depth to like such a shallow seeming character, like especially just like his like commitment to like what he like claims to represent and everything, and even like the sadness in his eyes when he kills Rick Flag and like he says like what a fucking joke, and like in his head he's just like, I don't know if this is right, but like outwardly he always has to be like, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like the fucking like way he's standing in his cell doorway when they're walking by before he can fall in the line.
Yeah.
Such a fucking asshole.
It's great. I hope what they end up doing, because I know they're saying that there's going to be a series.
Yeah.
I hope what they end up doing is like this fucking amazing like redemption thing with him. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like
it's possible because that's what they say in the post credit. They say that they need him to save the fucking world.
right.
Yeah, but like that's what they were claiming to do here. So
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
yeah.
I'm
He
just
did not
I
save the
looked
world.
the character up, and that's like part of his character is
yeah,
like he wants peace.
I'll kill whoever I need to get
And that's
it.
that's who the comedian in Watchmen was based off of.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yes.
Shit. That's awesome. And then Cena just like waking up in the middle of the night and standing there in his tighty whities was kind of the funniest fucking thing ever, because he was still standing like he was in the doorway.
Yeah.
And he had no shoes and no socks. They're in the fucking jungle and he's just wearing underwear. Like that to me, for Bloodsport is wearing his entire garb
Combat
and
gear.
sleeping. Everyone else is completely dressed in fucking Peacemaker. Took his clothes off to go to sleep because he has to sleep that way. Like, I just love that he was all over again, unflinching in like what he does. You know, and that's another point to that, I feel like. And then he said when he was pointing the gun at Ratcatcher 2 at the end. She said, "You don't have to kill me, just destroy the fucking drive. It's right there." And he goes, "Yeah, but I'm thorough."
Yep.
And he didn't even he didn't want to kill her, but he just felt like he had to now because she knew about the thing.
Yeah.
And he was
Yeah.
told to not leave any trace of it behind.
Yep.
Like, the mission is more important to him, which is where you get the Captain America vibe, than all of the rest of the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes him a douchebag.
Yep.
His fight scene with Rick Flag was one of my favorite things within this movie.
When they're in the helmet and panning
Yes.
around it, that was amazing.
Yes.
Oh my
yeah.
fucking
Which-
god.
Dude,
That was a practical shot.
Yeah, I bet.
they
What the
fucking
fuck,
yeah,
dude?
it wasn't. They didn't CG the fight into the helmet. They like set the helmet down and fucking
they filmed
filmed a scene of a fight scene behind it.
That's
and
wild.
panned around. That's unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Because it looked. I mean, it didn't look like it was CG, but when you see that, you kind of just go like, "Oh, okay." You know, they probably just added that on there. That's neat.
With
That's a neat
everything
little-
else in this movie, seeing like a giant shark and everything, like you're just assuming there's a shitload of special
Yeah.
effects in this
Yeah.
movie.
So to do
like
that
it's easy
practically-
to assume that would be
Yeah.
like a impractical shot, but to do that in camera and block that space out was amazing.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
go. I can't wait to go back and rewatch
and watch that. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
And they had another really great action scene together where they're like infiltrating the people who end up being the rebels. But
Dude.
when it's so good how they shoot it. It's like, and like Peacemaker like stabs the dude lying down like 8 times.
Yeah, they look so bored.
There's like an angle where like somebody like comes up to punch and the camera turns and then you see people there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you don't even know that they're there at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just shot like so like fluidly and
and then because you're following the two of them as they're trying to outdo each other.
Yes.
So you're following them like you're kind of behind one so you could see the other, and they're doing shit back and forth. And then Peacemaker climbs up onto the roof of that, and the camera goes up with him and then turns behind him.
Yeah.
So you're kind of over his shoulder like a video game shot. Which
he has the fucking darts.
and he's killing these people, and the woman just comes out of the side, and he like, and you fucking see it all the way hit her, and she just drops, and you're like, Jesus, like I loved how intense that made that, even though like those people were just doing mundane tasks, because
Right.
like the first guy, King Shark eats the dude that's like smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like he's just standing there like. And he's dead. He gets eaten by a shark. Like,
Well, because like the whole thing going through my mind through that whole scene, which like was really like a big payoff when you get to the actual like
Yeah.
kicker of like these aren't the military, was like Amanda Waller says like these are dangerous people, and like we don't see them like even put up a fight because they're
Right.
so like unaware of what's going on around them. And I'm like, these are dangerous people.
Right.
like when it became abundantly clear to me was when they killed the woman that was washing the clothes in the washroom,
Yeah, right.
singing a song. And then it was like, oh no, they're murdering innocent people.
That entire scene to me felt like a video game, like
Yes.
a,
Oh,
yeah.
a mission in a video game where you have to stealthily take
Yeah.
everybody out. And I think they pulled it off incredibly well. And when that woman was washing the dishes, I was just like, oh, so maybe it's like a village where there's like some people there with the group and they're not
Right.
necessarily all evil. So, but these are bad guys, so I guess we could let it go. And then we get to the end and find out.
Fucking
So
blood
fucking
sport.
good.
Instead of just shooting the guy in the back of the head, he shoots the fan off of the desk into the bathtub to electrocute him to death.
Literally just a dude
Like
fucking
such
lounging.
violent, and then they lie about it. They get to the end, and then they're just like, "I didn't see anyone."
Oh yeah, there was nobody out there. There was nobody.
And Polka Dot Man's just like, "I killed them."
I made them look like my mother in my head, and I killed them.
What did you guys
Fucking
think
hell.
about King Shark?
I fucking loved King Shark, dude.
Really?
Somehow Sylvester Stallone was able to pull that off, man. The personification, the inflections in his voice, even though he sounds stupid, like it just it was so fucking good. When she's like, "You wouldn't eat your friends, right?" And he's like, "No." And Sid goes, "He's obviously lying."
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone was really
I thought
fun.
I thought he was dead 4 times. I was like, oh, I swear to God, every time something happened, I was like, oh, well, there goes King Shark. Oh,
yeah.
Well, there goes King Shark. Oh, like I said that 4 times.
But I liked that though, because they actually made him seem like, well, he's like an old god or something like that. We're not sure.
Yeah,
giving him that ability to withstand that damage is so interesting.
Yeah. I think he had like a lot of heart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not as much as a Ratcatcher. Maybe.
He was much more endearing, where she was more like a hearted character because of the incredibly fucking tragic story that she gets to tell.
Right.
And then foiled against Bloodsport's story of his past and like how societal perception of what those two people would come from is like inverted in a way. So like she was like, I wish that you could have felt the love that my father had for me, even though he's all of the bad things about society, but yet he loved his daughter and set her up to be a good person, where like Bloodsport didn't have that opportunity at all. So I just loved sharing those two stories back to back, and then they immediately felt for one another after that. And like Idris Elba fucking turns around as like wiping his eyes and shit. Like it endears you more to that character as the film is going on, which I liked a lot.
At the end of the day, that was essentially, she was the heart of the film.
Yeah.
In that, like, comparing rats are the like most vile and hated creatures in all of the animal kingdom or whatever. But everyone has their purpose, and essentially, like, that's what the story is. Like, even though these people are pieces of shit, they still serve a purpose and can do good at the end of the day. Which I think is an interesting commentary, because at the end of the day, like, we're just human. Like, we're human beings.
That was... There's not a lot of, like, crossover between this and Guardians of the Galaxy, in my opinion, but that was the We Are Groot moment.
Oh, yeah.
We are rats.
We are all rats. I like that every character, like, on the real team that we got by the end, like, they each had like a purpose for being there.
Yeah.
There was a reason that they sent King Shark along.
Right.
I asked about King Shark just because, like, I felt like iffy about like how stupid they made him out to be. Just because, like, in like the Harley Quinn show, like it's Ronald Funches, so he's like kind of dumb, but he's still like, you know, more of a person. So to make him just like that, you know, like monosyllabic and like dumb was a little frustrating.
I don't think he was dumb as much as he was simple.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's a line there, because I don't think the character is stupid.
Yeah.
But I don't think that because of what he looks like and how he has to live, that he necessarily needs or enjoys any sort of like amenities or he doesn't have like desires or anything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, he's not complex in that way. He's just like a giant fucking shark man, and that's literally all that he can be.
That's fair, I guess.
To me, it seemed like it was more like he was learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was reading a book at the start.
Upside down.
Yeah.
King Shark doesn't always have a purpose, but like he has a purpose for being there ultimately. So it's like fun to have like a little like side view of like, and what's he been up to? Oh, he's playing with these fish or whatever, and that's how.
Dude, that was so cute though.
Was that like a reference, or those like a thing from the comics?
I don't know.
I wasn't really sure what was going on with that. It seemed like they were trying to make it like it was another experiment.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess.
It's probably a deep pull from the comics, and it's just an Easter egg, and like it's another thing that if you're aware that that's a thing, if not, you're going to get enough information to understand that this is what they are,
right?
Because they're probably not from Earth. That was what my guess would be.
Yeah, but yeah, all those little like side cutaways. So like him being in the aquarium, or like the entire sequence of like Harley killing the fucking president, but like having like a romantic fucking montage with him. It was
That was
insane.
amazing, dude.
Yeah.
The Harley, like in my head I keep thinking of it as like a vignette. Like
yeah.
the Harley vignette
Right.
was fucking
Harley tries dating again.
because they pull her out of that hole, or they drop the fucking dress in and they're like, get dressed. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? That was so cool.
And
Yeah.
she has like a great reaction to like how she looks in the dress.
She's a princess.
Yeah. That was so fucking cool. I will say though that during that, not the montage itself, but like I guess a bit before she like just flat out murders him, that was the one time in the movie where I did feel like things were dragging a little.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not really sure why. Like maybe because everything else was just so punchy and like quick and back and forth.
It could be also because it felt so out of place and you didn't know where it was going. Because it wasn't part of their plan.
Right.
So
Which
it
is
was
a completely different thing.
It was pretty, like, the whole thing was pretty unpredictable.
Everybody shows up to rescue her and she meets them outside.
Yeah, and I wish that wasn't spoiled within the trailers for the film.
Yeah. But I did really like seeing them just run around kind of in like normal clothes.
Yeah.
Helmets on. Just like, and not really being like sneaky either. They're just like running like across the street. Like it just looks so out of place.
Fucking Peacemaker's up in a bell tower in his shorts, wearing his bedpan helmet and pointing a gun at a woman who's washing the dishes. Like, I got eyes on one of them.
But like it just shows the care that they took with these characters to form relationships with one another. Because when Rick Flag like realizes that Harley's behind him, he's like, well, we were gonna save you. And then she like gets emotional. And I liked that. Because these characters actually do care about each other. As much as they don't want to admit that, you know?
She hugs him and he rubs her with the gun in Which I just was like, that's like so perfect, because she probably does, like, to her that's not even weird.
Yeah, not at all. So I know that we haven't really touched on Idris Elba as Bloodsport, but there originally I think was supposed to be a role for Will Smith.
Yes.
As Deadshot.
Deadshot, yep.
Okay.
And I think, and this is just my own opinion, the line that's exchanged between Elba, Viola Davis, and John Cena when they're in the prison, and she introduces Bloodsport and gives his backstory, and then gives the exact same backstory for Peacemaker, and he goes, "Are you fucking kidding with me?" Like, he does the exact same thing I do. I think that was maybe a built-in way for them to go like, yeah, it could have been Deadshot. It doesn't matter. They all fucking do the same thing.
Right.
They're all expert marksmen. They're all fucking super strong.
They just need to shoot well. They just need to kill well. Yeah.
We just needed one of them, and maybe Deadshot wasn't in prison at the time that she had to go put that fucking project together. That's the way that I fucking explained it away in my head, because I feel like it just, with how everything else was laid out, that could make sense.
And I thought like he worked really well on screen as a character. His background worked. The exchange with him and his daughter in the prison for me was really, really complicated and incredibly like well acted. And his daughter, I thought, did a really fantastic job conveying the emotion that she wanted to feel, and the anger and the disdain that she feels towards her father. Yeah,
dude, and his response after the fact was just like, holy shit. Oh my god, that scene was so like unexpectedly powerful.
Yeah.
It was cool that they didn't have him be like almost exactly the same as Deadshot, and that he didn't really care as much like about his daughter, you know what I mean?
He just like, he got upset because like, don't threaten me with my kid. You don't even know what my relationship is with her, as opposed to Like, and then it became like, I want to keep her safe
Mm-hmm.
because he knows what that prison is like.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? So when she kind of alludes to, like, she'd wind up here, he was like, hold the fuck on.
Yeah.
I don't need to know how old she is to know that she can't fucking be here,
Yeah.
of all places.
Right.
And that, I thought, was, like, super powerful, too.
And immediately that guilt would fall on his shoulders.
Right.
Because she
So he
made it
was-
a point to say, like, if you don't do this, she's going to come here.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it a point.
Yeah.
So,
And he already doesn't want her anywhere near him. So he's willing to take the suicide mission to keep his daughter out of that jail. Not any jail, just that jail.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, to Paul's point, I think it was really important to make that character different from Deadshot in that way, because Will Smith's interaction with his daughter would have been much more like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and he would have been burdened by that the entire movie, where it kind of doesn't feel like Bloodsport's necessarily burdened with it once he gets to the island. He knows he has a mission and that's it. Where Will Smith would have been like looking at a picture of his kid or something like that to keep the heart of that in it, because he was the heart of the first Suicide Squad movie to me. So not needing that character to be that, and like, Idris Elba's on screen for a lot of this movie, and he's super fucking complex, and he's super interesting, and I really think he did a great fucking job. And I hope at some point, if they were to continue doing things like this, utilize that character in another way, because I'd love to see him again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree completely. And it was nice, too, because that wasn't his sole motivation throughout the entire movie.
Right.
They added to it throughout. And they did that with all the characters, because they started to feel more like a family. They started to care more about each other. They started to genuinely raise the stakes, because now, okay, yes, it's a suicide mission. However, I don't want to see that person die.
And it's interesting that this movie has similar plot beats to the original.
Yeah.
Because the characters all coalesce at a bar and kind of get to know each other better. Like, there's all of those kind of things still happen in this, which is like, I feel like it kind of needs to happen. So it's the style of movie is more of an archetype than really like the specific characters in it, even though a lot of them are similar from the first one.
Starro's in it.
Any Starro fans out there, check this out.
I think including Starro was awesome, I feel like.
Of course.
Because it's a character that is always like the end of the story at the beginning of a comic book.
Yeah.
And very rarely like the bulk of the story of a comic book,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
They're always like wrapping up, defeating Starro, and then starting a new thing at the beginning of a Justice League book. Like, just in general, the character was terrifying. Like, the fucking hive mind situation, and that the people aren't alive underneath anymore, I think was like an interesting concept that I didn't really ever process or think about. Like, it takes hold of their body and it becomes part of it.
Yeah.
And also it can scream out of its weird gill things, which is terrifying.
Yeah, all the zombie stuff was like creepy and cool, and like the way that like he like used his hosts to like communicate and everything, or its host, their host, I don't know. I just really felt like that, like, it was quick and done by the end. And like, we didn't even talk about Thinker, but like, Peter Capaldi was like, he's a very funny guy, but like that scene is what I was talking about when they go into the lab and he's just like, it was the U.S. government and they were the ones running this the whole time. And I was like, why are you dumping all this right now?
Yeah.
And Ratcatcher says it again to Bloodsport after he takes down Peacemaker. She's just like, it sucks about how the U.S. government was behind Starro and he used to run the building and he wanted to bring it to the press. I'm like, I just heard that a minute ago. I don't need you to tell me that again.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think when he mentions it the first time, it's more of a catalyst for Rick Flag to spring into action.
Yeah.
And then the second time giving it to a person with a different set of morals, that information, he decides to use it as leverage. Like,
Right.
Rick Flag wasn't going to necessarily use it as leverage. He was going to go
Right.
slam it on Amanda Waller's desk and go, what the fuck?
Well,
Right.
especially Rick Flag, another point of like the great storytelling in this is like he was on the sacrifice team.
Yeah.
So he's already
Yeah.
like, I'm being fucked here.
Yeah.
And then he meets the rebels and he's just like, oh, I can be a different guy. I can like be a force for somewhat good. And then like by the end, when he's already like super against Waller and like everything that he's like being manipulated into, he's like, I have a chance to fucking do something about it at least.
Right.
And so you have to think that Waller knew that he would have that reaction had
And
he
that's-
found out
yeah.
and made it that far.
That's why he was on Team 1.
One other thing I loved is Bloodsport arguing back that like I'm not a leader, even though like Waller's like profile of him is like you could be a good leader.
Yeah.
But like every order he gives in that final battle is the fucking wrong choice. Like he's like Harley, get up on the building, and then Starro falls on the building. Like everything just like got put to shit. And it was like,
I didn't
yeah,
even
he
think
said he
about
wasn't
that.
a leader.
I love when he's just like, "That's your mom. that's your mom."
It's like he
Like-
just for him to prove that like he was paying attention when they were speaking, but he
Right.
doesn't really care about any of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, hey, you fucking keep saying that shit about your mother. There she is. And then fucking we get like a 4-story tall woman.
Yeah. Right.
That was
right.
really cool.
Yeah.
As soon as Polka Dot Man looked over at him and said, "I'm a superhero," I was like, well, he's dead.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
As soon
yeah.
as he said something.
The framing of it exactly, because it also, because I was texting Brian about it, and he said the same thing. When he saw how they were laid out, you know that he's done.
Yeah.
Like without anybody saying anything, just the framing and the positioning of the characters, you know,
Yeah.
Polka Dot Man's going down at that moment.
Yeah.
Which I think is so interesting that everybody got that. Like it's it seemed universal at that point that like he's just far enough away.
We've all accepted this as a thing. He's
Yeah.
about to be crushed to death. But he died a hero. So
He did.
yeah.
Rick Flag's death for me was really hard to swallow because
Yeah.
I love Joel Kinnaman as an actor, and this movie made me love him even more.
Yeah.
Seeing him die, I was not
sucked.
ready for it, but like I knew it kind of had to happen.
Yeah.
They even went out of their way to like specifically show the
Show his
heart
heart.
getting stabbed.
There's so many layers to it because we see the definitive death of Rick Flag, and then we get what we think is a definitive death of Peacemaker, and the wrong person is still alive.
Yeah.
Well, and they even in that dialogue,
Yeah.
the doctor even makes a mention of it's amazing how his heart is still beating. So
Yeah.
like as the viewer, you're kind of hoping like, oh
Yeah.
man, this could be Rick Flag.
Yep.
Yeah, I mistook him when they showed him in the bed. I was like, oh, is that Rick Flag? Just because, like, two muscly white guys. I don't know.
So then you realize that Peacemaker survives, right?
Yeah.
But then you think about what Rick Flag said when Peacemaker kills him, and I feel like that's going to be part of the driving force of that show, is him having to live with or understand or kind of get over the fact that he is kind of a joke. Like, so Cena plays that off really well, and I think that that's going to be part of the psychological thing going forward for that character, which I think is awesome, that Rick Flag gets to affect him, and maybe we'll even, like, in the show hear the echo of him saying some shit, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, you know, with all the crazy shit that happens in that movie, I wouldn't doubt that there's like, if they really wanted to bring him back, like they could just bring him back. Like, there's always a fucking, you know, alternate reality. There's always a fucking
Rick Flag just
Lazarus
shows up.
pit. Bring them back. Fucking.
Yeah.
It could all, there-
So it's possible, but I think as far as the character, like I said, the storytelling perspective,
Yeah.
his death means more
yeah.
than as if like he just got like crushed to death
Right.
on the beach or something.
Yep.
So
because he gets to affect another character moving forward, and that's what's gonna that makes the character mean more.
Yeah. He definitely wasn't a throwaway. Yeah. And that's cool.
One of the things that we didn't talk about was James Gunn embedding a soundtrack into the movie again. I don't know that it was as effective as Guardians' soundtrack was, but just the fact, just how he did it and the songs that he used, I think they were super, super effective for this movie. I don't think like this soundtrack isn't gonna get a million re-releases and go fucking platinum. But
well, that's the thing. I don't think it was trying to.
No,
this
it
wasn't
wasn't
trying to be a greatest hits type
right.
scenario. You know, like it wasn't going out of its way to be a character. Like the soundtrack of Guardians is a character of that movie.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's just a way to drive home emotion.
Yeah, and it worked.
You know?
I think it worked really well. I think it worked really well.
It's the only DC movie that has the Decemberists in it, and I am incredibly happy about that.
The only place that the soundtrack didn't work for me was it was very jarring to go from the opening title sequence with one song and then immediately start another song when you meet Idris Elba.
Right.
It was like that, like you needed to have
a bumper. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I just popped because it was the Decemberists. So any other final thoughts on The Suicide Squad?
Nah, man. I just think it's a super, super fun movie. I'm upset. I'm honestly upset that I couldn't go see this in a movie theater because I feel like that experience would have been fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Especially for
fun.
a first viewing. I feel like it would have been great to have a crowd that's reacting to all of the stuff that's happening because it would have just felt so amazing. But yeah, I think it's super fucking fun. There's so many different elements to it, and it was just entertaining from top to bottom. And when it was over, I was kind of like, fuck, I want to watch that again, like right away. And luckily, I can watch it as many times as I want to on HBOMax at home. And in that article that I said Jordan shared earlier, Joel Kinnaman described his ridiculous, rigorous shooting schedule for this because he's also filming that show that he does on Apple TV at the same time. Mm-hmm. So he was like filming in blocks in Florida and then having to go, or Georgia, and then having to go back to LA and then filming. And he was literally doing like sometimes a week at a time, going back and forth, sometimes a month. But like they had to really fucking break his schedule down to get it accomplished. So it was because there's so many people in this movie that the schedule's just like I can't imagine.
Yeah.
When like throwing the four of us together to say when are you available is hard enough. And none of us, I mean, we do shit, but we really don't do anything comparatively. So I can't even imagine the fucking logistical nightmare of looking at everybody's shit laid out and going like, Tuesday? Like
yeah, I mean, I would watch it again. I would suggest it to people.
Yeah.
It makes references to the comics. It's a good movie. It's good and fun.
Yeah, I think fun is like a great like umbrella for this movie. It's just a wild ride. I don't think it takes itself too seriously, but it also has like a ton of heart and it's very impactful in its own way. Yeah, and I would honestly like to see these characters come back in like the Suicide Squad or something.
the Suicide Squad.
Can't wait to see where Weasel turns up next.
Oh man.
No, do you want to see?
The way that Weasel even just walks is hilarious.
I want to know either if that was Sean Gunn or if it was James Gunn doing the mocap.
It was Sean Gunn.
Yeah, it's definitely Sean.
And he got to be Calendar Man.
Which was such a cool little thing to throw in. And that's one of the things that I love about this movie is it works as a standalone thing that you could put on. There's no
Anytime.
timestamp on it.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch it in a specific order. You don't need to watch something that comes before unless you want to.
Right.
It's versatile in that way, and I really like and appreciate that. I appreciate the care that they took to develop actual bonds with these characters, and ultimately it's a fun fucking comic book movie in the year 2021, and those are kind of hard to come by at this stage. I feel like
It's got to be up there as like one of the better comic book movies ever. You have to, when you have that conversation, you either have to allow the MCU into it, or you have to discredit, or you just have to disclaim, okay, MCU aside, what's a good comic book movie? And if you do that, this has to be near the top, I feel like, universally for everybody. It doesn't get all of the immediate DC hate that DC typically gets.
Yeah, true.
Which is interesting, because I think poaching a guy that established something for the other company definitely helps the fucking credibility of it. And you have the crossover appeal with the fans that, I liked his other shit, but don't bring your kids to this. There's not a fucking cute raccoon.
no, there's a tiny little rat though that's pretty cute.
There is.
Yeah.
Sebastian,
Little
Sebastian,
who was also practical for a lot of the movie, apparently, which I didn't believe.
There's 2 rats who are credited, and one of them is named Jaws, and the other one's name is Crisp Rat.
That's awesome. Dude, Sebastian had more personality than like some characters in other movies do.
Yeah.
Like these days, it's fucking crazy.
yeah. Just goes to show the level of care that entire production team put into this. I know they shot a lot of shit practically.
Yeah.
The movie itself is gorgeous. I love the colors, like everything. I'm a big fan. Can't wait to own this movie. But we want to hear from you. We want to know what you guys thought. It was available on HBOMax if you're listening to this within the 30-day window that it is available on there. If you get the chance, go see it in a theater. Starro was incredible on the large screen. The scope of those scenes with the buildings collapsing was fantastic in a theater. So if you're able to, go see it in a theater. If not, check it out on HBO Max and let us know what you think. You could find us across social media at Pop Kannon, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We also have a brand new Facebook group that you can join if you're on there. We're going to have a bunch of polls and topics and discussion in there. It's the Pop Kannon Collective. So find that at facebook.com/groups/Pop Kannon Collective.
You can also subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast platform, probably where you're listening to this now. And if you are, you probably already subscribed, and we thank you for that. But make sure that you do subscribe. We're also on YouTube, where you can see our glowing, beautiful, delicious faces.
Make sure you hit subscribe, and then there's a notification bell you could click to turn on, and then you'll always know when we post new episodes. It's every other Wednesday.
And on your preferred podcast platform, throw a rating and review our way. We'd like to have more of those. So if you're listening to these current episodes and you're not filling through our backlog, please drop a rating and review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us who your favorite person is on the show. And tell us who your least favorite person is on the show. So we can rank ourselves and fight among one another about it.
So if you would like to follow us individually, those of you that you actually like, you could find me on Instagram and Twitter at JL24FPS.
Should I follow suit? You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Yesball.
Paul doesn't have a Twitter, so you have to go to his house and tell him why you don't like him. But you can tell me why you don't like me at Joe for Broke on Twitter and Instagram.
Send me a letter.
Fox, I hate Paul.
We put Paul's home address up.
I'm just putting it in the lower third.
Yeah, just dox me. Oh, shit.
So thank you very much for watching and or listening. Stay tuned. Very, very soon we've got new content coming at you. My name is Jordan,
I'm Robert.
Paul.
Joe.
and this has been Pop Cannon, episode 60. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.